What's up, Lorehounds? It's Kabir. I'm here with Eric Dodds, the game director of Hearthstone Heroes of Warcraft. So, you guys just announced Goblins versus Gnomes, an epic 120 plus card full expansion. The first one, because don't forget, Curse of Naxxramas was actually an adventure. The biggest thing that everybody is realizing right away of the 28 cards that have been introduced is the randomness. Either it be damage or where the damage is being dealt. A lot of players players or just people looking are kind of scared that it's taking skill out of it. And for me, it just seems exciting to have that randomness, like, oh, what's going to happen? Like, something's going to die, but what's going to go down? Do you really think there's going to be a skill level reduction because of this expansion?
It's actually a great question, and randomness is sort of an essential part of the Hearthstone experience. I mean, on one hand, because we love the wonderful, wonderful stories that come out of a lot of the crazy things that happen. I mean, it's very often around the office we have a moment where something happens and you have to leap up and run over to somebody else. You won't believe this crazy thing that just happened. It's amazing, and that's very important to us. But speaking specifically to the skill side of things, I think in a lot of cases it's actually going to at least require the same amount of skill, if not increase the level of skill. Okay. Because sometimes you're going to have some random cards like the Bomb Lobber that does 4 damage to a random enemy minion, and if you're a skilled player, of course, you are going to set it up so that the thing that you need to die is the only thing left on the table. Yeah, absolutely. So
I mean, we have that with the Hunter deck, the Deadly Shot, to destroy a random enemy minion. It's like, well, I'm going to make it the only one around.
Yeah, exactly. So that's certainly one side of things, but the other side of things that's perhaps even more important is when you talk about a card like our new piloted mechs, that when they die, a random minion of a specific cost comes into play. So, oh, a random 2-cost minion just came into play. And if you're a very good player, you're going to see this random minion. It's going to probably be something you haven't seen before, you don't normally see in competitive play. And you're going to have to stop and think, because normally you'll go, oh, the board case looks like this, I just do this thing automatically, because I've always seen this circumstance before. It's happened before, but if it's a random minion and you haven't seen before, you actually have to take a step back and go,
rekindle that thought process.
Wow, everything has changed. How do I deal with this new situation? And the best players are going to be able to deal with that new situation better than a player who just knows, I play like this, and I play my cards, and I'm used to this interaction, and suddenly they'll come to and they'll come to a halt and go, whoa, I don't know what to do.
Just ruined my world.
I'm confused. So
my spreadsheet does not tell me what to do here.
It totally doesn't. So in a lot of ways, it's going to require a lot of skill for you to look at these new situations and go, what the heck is going on? What do I do next?
So, and what are the other big things that's coming from Goblins versus Gnomes? Of course, these are the tinkerers of the Warcraft universe. Is some cards are now mech. It's a new minion type.
Yeah.
And even retcon. So some of the cards that are already out there, like the Demolisher, the Dragonling.
Don't forget the Harvest Golem.
And the Harvest Golem are all now mechs. And so we definitely saw this synergy of that early 28 cards that we've been able to get right now, where this expansion is very integrated, bounces off each other, just very meta in that sense. Is that something that is gonna follow in future expansions, or can it be a little more breadth, just adding stuff?
Yeah, it's actually going to depend a lot on the nature of the expansion. I mean, in Goblins versus Gnomes, it's all about these two classic characters, the Goblins and the Gnomes fighting, and thus it had to be all about the mechs. And so it had to be this sort of cohesive, mechs are doing battle and summoning other mechs and blowing each other up and that sort of thing, so it clearly had to be about that. But as we go forward, of course, we're going to think about what is the nature of this expansion, and does it call for a mechanic like that? Does it call for something else? I mean, it could be anything. So a lot of it depends on the nature of the expansion. And with Goblins versus Gnomes, having this mech theme is exactly what we needed.
And I'm sure you guys, the literature you've put out on the expansion, you knew that this was going to change Hearthstone as we go in. Really, any expansion is going to completely change any one of your games.
Sure,
adding
absolutely.
so much stuff. Do you see it changing more of the constructed deck play or arena play? Like, do you see any like one way or the other that's getting pulled more?
Yeah, that's a great question, and there's a lot of cards I think that are going to appeal to both. I mean, there's some cards that are going to make a significant difference in arena, and in fact, one of the things that's interesting is we chose to make the way mechs interact to be work better in arena than our first iteration of it. And what I mean by that is originally we thought, hey, mech decks would be great if you had to have a deck of all mechs. And then we went, well, that's actually a little rough in arena, right? Because it's hard to get this whole deck constructed in one thing. So we actually went back and changed a bunch of them so that the mechs, or a lot of these, interact if you have at least one mech in play. So, you know, the Tinkertown tech, you put him into play, and if you have at least one mech, you get the bonus, which works great in arena. And I mean, it's also good in constructed, but it means that for arena, you get to have some of those synergies without having to build a full, you know, Murloc deck or, you know, whatever.
And again, it is a lot of fun seeing the random occurrences that can happen. One of the things we did notice so far is you have a new board, looks very cool, but there's no interaction yet. We know the game's coming soon. It's actually this December, or the expansion. It's coming this December. So what's going on there?
You're in for a treat when it comes out. Our Gnomes and Goblins, they sometimes get a little bit behind schedule, so they haven't quite finished, you know, screwing everything in and hooking up all the wiring behind our board. But you certainly can expect to see a lot of really fun interactions when that board is wiring. I think our Gnomes and Goblins are probably, I should more accurately say, our artists went a little bit crazy with this board, nice. And it's super fun what happens. So I'm looking forward to everybody getting to experience that for themselves.
All right, so one more on the overall design of Hearthstone here. What about an idea of spell taunt, of being like a different kind of taunt to just suck up spells, kind of like the Assassinates or you know, Jaina's Fireball?
We're certainly always playing with the space of how do you make a counter to spells, and it's possible that you'll see things that have interesting interactions with spells in the set that maybe you haven't seen yet, but I don't think even with this set we're done in that space, because we're always talking about what's an interesting interaction to be a spell counter versus a minion counter, and how do you like make it so that it's not overwhelmingly, oh, you can't play spells at all, versus hey, you know, spells are all powerful. And Loetheb, of course, from Naxxramas is an example of a place where we started to play with that space.
Awesome. So we have Goblins versus Gnome. It's coming out in December, just like a month and change away, depending where it falls.
Yep.
But what we do know it's going to be kind of like Curse of Naxxramas was, where you could either buy it straight out or buy it through gold, correct? Do we know a price point?
Sure. Actually, the packs are going to cost the exact same price as the packs do right now. So if you know how much an expert pack costs, that's how much a pack of Goblins versus Gnomes is going to cost. You can buy it for gold, you can buy it for real money. You can save your arcane dust up and craft new Goblins versus Gnomes cards at the same cost per rarity. You can disenchant Goblins versus Gnome cards and get that arcane dust and use it to make expert cards. You know, it's
really
all exactly the same. Yeah, it's just a new type of pack that works exactly the same way the old packs did.
All right. Thanks so much. We can't wait.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to everyone getting to play it.
Awesome. See you guys later.